My name is Miss Cornwell. I teach math and theater here at Myers Park High School in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I have kind of a funky way to help you remember how to divide monomials. So I'd like to share that with you today. So here's a problem. If you're in Mr. Keenan's math class, this is problem number 9 from your worksheet. This is a fraction, right? It's a division problem. We've got a numerator and we have a denominator. Up in the numerator, we've got 8x to the negative 4th. Look at that negative exponent. Here's y to the 10th. What operation is happening between all of these things? Multiplication. All right, I'm going to go ahead and write that in just because I want to remind us. All right, so there's multiplication happening. That's our numerator. Here's our denominator. We've got negative 2 times x squared times y to the negative 8. Negative. All right, and there is multiplication happening between these lovely things as well. So normally we think about this as a fraction. It is a fraction, this is true. It's division happening between these. For the purposes of this conversation, I want you to think about it as an apartment complex, all right? Go with me for just a second. So let's think of this as an apartment complex. In an apartment complex, you've got an upstairs and a downstairs, all right? Here's a couple windows, your visual aid for the day. Here's a little tiny door. Only short people can live in that apartment. And another window, all right? Apartment complex, with me? Upstairs, downstairs, ready? So, right here, living upstairs, we've got this x to the negative 4th. This is Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones hates living upstairs. He hates that he has to carry his groceries up this staircase. His dog hates walking upstairs. He hates that there are people living underneath him. He is just so unhappy, right, because of this negative exponent. He is so unhappy, negative Nelly, living upstairs. Hates it. So how would you suggest we make Mr. Jones happy? Positive. We're going to move him downstairs, all right? You can move this guy downstairs as long as you take away this negative sign. So x to the negative 4th, Mr. Jones, when we move him downstairs, remember that was x to the negative 4th, we are going to move him down here. It becomes x to the positive 4, all right? And if multiplication was happening between all of these things, multiplication is going to be happening now that we've added Mr. Jones, okay? So that's Mr. Jones. We've now fixed Mr. Jones. We moved him downstairs into an empty apartment. He's happy, happy as pie living downstairs, okay? So now we're looking at our denominator. Uh-oh. Here's Mrs. Jackson. Mrs. Jackson hates living downstairs. She thinks people are looking in her windows at night. She hates that people are living above her. She just hates living downstairs. How do you make Mrs. Jackson, y to the negative 8, she's all negative, hates living downstairs. How do you make her positive? We're going to move her upstairs. All right, so y to the negative 8 becomes y to the positive 8 when we move her upstairs. You can only take away that negative sign when you move her upstairs, or for Mr. Jones, when you moved him downstairs. All right, we're not done yet, though. That's only one trick. Here we're going to go forward. If there is multiplication happening between all of these things, you've got these two monomials with like bases, right? The variable is the same. They're both y's. What are we going to do to these exponents when we combine them? Well, if there's multiplication happening, we're going to add these exponents. So y to the 8th times y to the 10th becomes y, ooh, beautiful marker, to the 18th. But that's still times 8. So we're going to write that 8 in front. We've got our division bar. That stays the same. Here we've got negative 2. Now, negative 2, I know this is kind of confusing. Negative 2 is a negative number, you're right. But this is our coefficient. This is our number that hangs out in front of our variables. So we can't make that positive by moving him upstairs. We can only move negative exponents and make them positive. Okay? Don't get confused. So negative 2 has to stay down here because it's our coefficient in front of our variables. But we can combine this, all right? X squared, x to the 4th. What do we do to those exponents when we multiply these times each other? We're going to add those exponents. It becomes x to the 6th. Let's check. Are there any like variables here? Nope. So those are going to hang out. Those are going to stay the same. But we're not done. 8 divided by -2 can be simplified. Please do not freak out. If this was just a regular fraction and these variables were not here, we could simplify this. 8 divided by -2 simplifies down into -4. But hold on, -4, if 8 divided by -2 is -4, that's a whole number, it's not a fraction. Is that -4 going to go in our numerator or our denominator? It's a whole number, so it's going to stay in our numerator. So -4 in our numerator. What else is in our numerator? This y to the 18th, and then x to the 6th is the only lonely little neighbor living downstairs in our apartment complex. This is your final answer. Please don't tell Mr. Keenan I gave you the final answer, okay? Good luck.